lined up. We have some protesters behind us who are chanting as they walk by us here on the inaugural parade route. We're not sure what the protest situation is that's on your screen right now. There are some people there. How many? We're not sure. There has been a use from our reporters on the scene of pepper spray. Again, you're seeing those smoke clouds, which are part of the deterrent to move the line of protesters back. There's a huge line of media there as well. But thus far, what you're seeing on the screen has been the extent in the context of some 90 arrests that have taken place in D.C. so far.
Renee Marsh is in the middle of this, and she can give us better perspective of what she's seeing there on the ground. Renee?
Yes, I mean, you know what, despite them deploying the pepper spray, which we just experienced seconds ago, and despite, all of the riot police here, they continue to throw large chunks of rock. And so this standoff is continuing, where you have individuals who are essentially attacking police here. They are throwing large pieces of concrete at the and it is causing just a frantic situation here with people are running and knocking people over, and it's a lot of disorder here. They clearly do not have the situation under control at the intersection of K and 12th Street.
Renee, do you have any idea of the numbers involved, of how many people are on the protest side, how many media are between them and the police? Can you give us some numbers?
It's really hard to tell from where I am. I can tell you that there's a lot of press here, but there's a lot of protesters as well. I think that it's only a handful of people who are throwing the rocks that's causing all of this commotion here, but honestly, it's hard to pinpoint in this large crowd who are the culprits throwing these large chunks of concrete at police. Right now, I can tell you things are kind of at a standstill in the sense that I do not see any rocks flowing through the air. Riot police are standing with their shields up. They're telling us to move back a bit, but still nothing settled. It's still unsettling in the sense that people are just on edge.
The police have been prepared for this. They knew that there would be protests. They had been planning, obviously, for this inauguration for months. So they are obviously using their training here. Brian Todd is also now on the scene. Brian, what can you tell us from your vantage point?
Well, guys, the police are rushing this group of protesters right here. A flashbang just went off. Bricks and rocks being thrown right here at the police. They have just rushed down 12th Street trying to knock some of these protesters down that way. They've just fired flashbang rounds. They are moving toward these protesters right here, many of whom have been throwing rocks and bricks. We just saw one gentleman who was down on the ground injured. Some people helped him up. He said he got sucker punched. He was dazed and was helped down the street a little bit. But you might have just seen it as we were coming on. There was a flashbang round being fired, and these riot police have just driven a wedge in the protesters, driven some of them down K Street that way, some of them this way, and as you can see, there's a very tense standoff going on here between the protesters here, protesters on the other side, and the police. There are some black-clad protesters over here wearing masks. These seem to be some of the protesters who have been more engaged with the police from what we've seen. So guys, I can just kind of narrate as we go here. The police, come on over here, John, if you can. Just come on over here with me if you can. Photojournalist John Bennett and I are going to move a little bit closer if we can here. Protesters are starting to move a little bit closer as well. If you guys can still hear me, we're going to see what happens in this standoff right here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, so the police are now kind of strengthening their line over here, kind of shoring up their line here. And we just saw a bunch of police run down 12th Street that way. I'm going to try to move toward the corner. John, why don't you come with me over here? Because we want to try to see where some of the protesters and police moved down 12th Street to the south. But we have to be ready to move ourselves if there's going to be another confrontation here. We had numerous arrests earlier today. We had a couple of police officers injured. Sorry, guys, back to you then.
All right, Brian, you keep monitoring the situation, but stay safe, especially with that pepper spray in the air. We heard Renee coughing from that before. That'll stay with you if it hits you for a while, as we both know. Let us know when to come back to you. We just want to let you know that that voice you hear, that voice of God, is what it sounds like. It's the inaugural committee here giving people warning information and what to do if there's any problem here today, and some safety cues. They're getting ready for the overall inaugural parade. Just behind us, the different rows of military escort that are lining the avenue here as we get ready for the parade in about 45 minutes.
But we should also say that it couldn't be a more stark contrast to what we're seeing on the left side of our screen and here, where it's very peaceful. There are hundreds of thousands of people, it seems, who have come out. They're lining the streets. They're waiting for the parade. They're waiting for the new president to go by. Everyone is very calm. It's orderly on this side. So at 12th, you can see what's unfolding, but that's a pocket. And what we've seen is by far peaceful and, for the most part, excited.
And if we both lean out for a second, you can see the depth of all the people behind us. It goes all the way down the avenue already, still some 45 minutes away. Jim Sciutto, you're out there on the parade route. What do you know?
Chris, let me just give our viewers a bird's eye view of where you're seeing our reporters now, where these protests are taking place. Some of them here at McPherson Square and just over here on 12th and K. As you come out, you see that's very close, just a couple of blocks from the White House. And here, all along the middle, is that parade route from the Capitol leading up to the White House. And that's something that, in addition to keeping everything safe, everything running on time, U.S. Police, Secret Service, etc., they've wanted to keep this flowing as best they can. And I'll tell you, speaking with them earlier in the day, they really hadn't had much trouble. Now you're seeing something very different. And I just want to add one more detail, if I can, Chris. This area here that you see in red and yellow, these are the restricted areas of the downtown part of the Capitol here. No vehicles. Part of the intention of all that has been to keep things flowing. But of course, people have been allowed to come in. And a lot of these protesters know early on their focus was trying to go after some of these security checkpoints, and now focusing on the route of the parade.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much for that vantage point. We want to bring in now Jonathan Wackrow. He is a CNN law enforcement analyst, as well as a former Secret Service officer. Jonathan, can you hear us?
I sure can. How are you today?
Okay, it's so good to have you. We know that you're also a former inaugural parade coordinator, so you know everything that's going on. Obviously, police prepare for protests, but they never can know exactly what they'll confront. What do you see unfolding here?
Absolutely. So just take a step back. The Secret Service has been coordinating with their law enforcement partners for an awful long time for this very moment. Whenever you have civil disobedience issues like we're seeing on screen right now, these are dynamic and rapidly evolving events. But law enforcement, as you see, is very systematic in the way that they're approaching this. They're trying to push these protesters away from the parade route. To Jim's point just a little while ago, it seems like they're at the border of some of these critical areas. Law enforcement's going to want to systematically push them away and disperse those protesters out.
When it comes to the security techniques that we're seeing in play, the loud sounds, we call them flashbangs. Give us a sense of what are the different tools that the riot police will use and at what different points.
Well, listen, first of all, the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to give the verbal commands for the crowd to disperse. Let them know that, the law enforcement presence is here, that they're violating certain, ordinances, that once they become, combative, like we're seeing right now, once violence ensues, the police have to shift into a different type of methodology. They need to start holding their lines. It basically becomes first a defensive posture, and then they need to start moving on the offense to disperse those crowds out. Chris, your question was around the use of flashbangs. What that is supposed to do is again, it's a diversionary tactic that's used by police to start dispersing the crowd out. Listen, these protesters had one leg up on the police because they basically came into the situation organized. Police now come in, they have to build a defense, and as you see, listen, as we're seeing right now, they want to disperse that crowd out, they want to push them back. We're seeing flashbangs, we're seeing smoke being utilized. This is a standard police tactic in dealing with civil disobedience, and this is something that has been planned for this inauguration for years.
All right, so let's hold it right there. We'll keep monitoring the situation. the security situation in and around the inaugural parade. We're still about 40 minutes away from the official start of the parade. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, we'll give you more of the detail of what's going to be this next historic phase of the inauguration of Donald Trump. Stay with us.
CNN's coverage of the presidential inauguration is brought to you by CA Technologies, the technology sponsor for CNN's political coverage.